Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Scott's RPG Reviews. This is not an RPG review, it's actually a talk about Hasbro. This is my second Hasbro one. So, Hasbro is very clearly, if you look at their business model, is they're trying to get into the recurring subscription as a service model that you see a lot of software companies like go through. And honestly, the concept of recurring revenue from customers isn't new. Magazines run under that model where you get a magazine every month and you pay by the year, you automatically renew. And the notorious one is the various book clubs, the Columbia House. All those were kind of the same concept of recurring revenue from customers. Because honestly, when you look at the amount of effort to get revenue, to generate cash, it's a lot easier to get money out of an existing customer than to try to attract a new one, particularly as you dominate a market. So, which Hasbro with that D&D 5e, it's very hard to get new 5e players because, well, anybody who's a role player probably plays 5e. I may be the only exception. Even I played one 5e game. So, the reason why I bring this up is Hasbro's trying to move to a concept of recurring revenue models for D&D. And their approach has been is they want to move everything to D&D Beyond. The problem is when you look at role players and what they've historically had been done is that's not the way they work. I go out, and I remember when I first bought my set of D&D books, the Monster Manual, Player's Guide, and GM's Guide. I bought those 3 books. I spent $45 at the time for all 3. I thought that was an enormous amount of money in 1979 or 80 or whenever I bought it, and that's all I needed, and I wrote my own dungeons. I turned out and bought a bunch of the pre-gen modules that existed out there. There were a lot, but the idea here is that I buy a book and it's mine. And you look at stuff like Drive-Thru RPG, and that is the model that role players run under. And D&D Beyond is very much a different model where if I stop paying them, I stop losing access to content. Even the content I previously paid for, I'm basically renting content, which is really problematic because that's not what role players have run with in the past, and it's not the way they want their product served to them. So Hasbro's made this huge, I think a huge mistake by saying we're going to move everything online and we're going to make it so you're essentially renting your player books, and that's going to be a huge problem for them over the long term, I think, in terms of the role-playing industry. The thing is that, in the previous video I did, provides a solution to this need to generate recurring revenue, which is really the problem Hasbro's trying to solve, is how can we generate recurring revenue? And if you go back and you look at Underground Oracle, they're building a recurring revenue model. Now, you can buy this stuff on a piecemeal basis. You can buy one of the Cypher Shorts books, and you can buy individual items. But if you look at it from an economic standpoint, it's actually a whole lot cheaper for me to just pay their annual subscription fee of $50 or $60, whatever it is these days, and get all their content for the year than it is for me to buy the individual books. So, for Hasbro, if they want to generate recurring revenue, the solution is not to go to an online rental system, but to go to a subscription service for content, where I pay Hasbro a dollar value for a year, and it grants me access and permanent access to specific stuff that's there, and then when new stuff comes out, I get the new stuff as well. And I could do this on a series of tiers. I could do it electronic PDF version or a DRM version if you wanted to, or I could do it on a print version where, okay, you pay us $20 a month, $30 a month, whatever that number is, that you'd have to run the numbers, and say, for the $20 or $30 a month that I pay you, I'm guaranteed to get a print edition of whatever comes out for the next year or the next month or whatever. And honestly, that's a pretty good subscription model to go through. Now, that requires a lot of planning by Hasbro in terms of figuring out what content, and you have to commit to content. You can't just take people's money and then not deliver everything. So you gotta be willing to commit to content. If you didn't want to go print, you could just do PDF. That would be fine. Not my personal preference, but it's certainly an option to consider. And this solves their recurring revenue problem. They say we need to generate revenue on an ongoing basis out of our existing customer base. Congratulations, here's how you do it. And guess what? It's an easy system to implement, except one thing. All the people that could make that happen, they've let go. They've let go all of their content creators. And these content creators are the ones who could say, look, we can drop out a module once a month. We can drop out a module every 3 weeks. We could put out new bestiaries every 6 months. Whatever you wanted to do, all the people that could do that, they've let go. So, congratulations, Hasbro. There's a solution for you for this recurring model, and you've got everything again yet to shoot yourselves in the foot and not be able to do that. So, don't know what to say. I understand the need for recurring revenue. I understand, particularly when you're the dominant player in an industry, you having to find a way to get revenue out of existing customers. I completely get that. I think the approach you're taking is disastrous. This whole thing where if you stop paying us, we're going to take away your toys. Wow, that's really bad. But so, advice to Hasbro, get those content creators back or figure out a way to generate content on a regular basis. And then turn around and offer a subscription service. Congratulations, problem solved. Just make sure that however you do it, that when I'm on a subscription service, whatever I get during my subscription, I get to keep. That's my 2 cents for today. Everyone have a good day.